Hey humans, in this tutorial I'm going to talk to you about scope, the variable scope. And I start by creating a C file. I name it scope. I open it. And let's start by explaining what the scope is. And when we say scope of the variable, we just mean actually like from where this variable is visible. So if you have an integer a here, if I ask you like what's the scope of a variable a, then I just mean from where can I read this variable and write to it and so on. And a way to imagine this is that you have a camera here like this, and for a minute just forget that there's a function here or anything, just think there's a camera, right? So a camera, when we say the scope of the camera, we actually mean that this area where we can see from the camera, and that area is like there's a line from here going like this diagonally down, and then there's an upper line going here, and the area between those two lines is like, it's called the scope of the camera, right? It's the area that you can see through the camera. And when we mean the scope of variable, it's about the same thing. We just mean from where is it visible. Okay, so you can actually imagine there's a camera inside every function, and for that camera we can see the variable a, right? And this camera can see only inside each function. So if I create a function inside I just messed up. If I can have a variable if I declare a variable inside a function, like here in main, then this variable is visible only inside that function. Okay, and this is called a local variable. Local variable, like this. Okay, so that's the one thing. The second kind of variables are something called global variables. And to create a global variable in C, you just have to declare the variable outside of a function. So actually I'm just going to put it here on this empty place. So if I create int a like this, then this is a global variable, right? Or maybe I may give it another name so I don't confuse you yet. So I gave it also a value, right? And this here is like 10. So the difference between these two kind of variables is that I can read b from anywhere, from any function. So I can actually have here printf, put the d, a new line, and then the name of the variable b. So I can actually read the variable here and print it, although it's outside the function. But the same is not true for a. Of course I can read in this function, but I mean I can't read a from another function if I had a second function. So I'm going to compile this, and I run it. You see I get print 50, right? So as you see, I can read the global from inside main, and the one question is like where do we need globals? And it's just that sometimes you actually need to have a global variable because you need like something that you can read from everywhere or write from everywhere and so on. But it's really bad practice to have a global, because if you have many lines of code, then it becomes a mess. And maybe if you're careless, maybe you change by mistake a global variable and then the whole program crashes or whatever. So you really should avoid to have global variables. Just use them when you really need them. For the most of the coding, you just need locals. They're very suffice, so it's fine with just them. What happens if this was a like this? Yeah, so now I have like a global variable a here, which is 50, and then I have a local variable a, which is 10. So if I run this, which of the two will get printed? and the answer is that I made a mistake here. B. I also have to change this, right? So I compile this and then I run it. So I got the 10, right? And this is simply because there's a very simple rule that you should always remember, and that rule is that locals come before globals, and this is always true, and remember it. So if you have a global and a local with the same name, then if you call any of the two, because they have the same name, right? So if they're both called A and you call A, then you're always referring to the local variable. Okay? And another way to show you this is by creating a second function here. I will call it int change variable, change value. Okay? So save this, and this function is just going to take any number here, int a. This is a parameter, right? And it's going to take the value that you pass to the function, its argument, and then it's going to add 10. Okay? And then I have, of course, to call this here, change value, and then I just pass some random number like, I don't know, 2. So what I'm trying here to show you is, I take away this thing here, right? So what I'm trying to show you here is that when you pass something to the function here, so I call change value 2, right? So I pass the 2 and I jump here, function. So the function creates a copy of the value that got. It creates a new variable, and this is something very it's very crucial to remember this, that the parameter is always a new variable. So int here is a local, actually. A is local. So here when we return A, we don't mention this A, because as you remember, locals always come before globals. I stated here. So when we reference to A here, we actually mean the local A, which is the value 2, right? Because we got the value 2 and passed it to A. So actually what we return is 2 plus 10 and not 50 plus 10, okay? So here we will actually get, of course you have to save this, like, I don't know, int B, okay, then be here. So I save the value that I get. So this should be 12 and not 52, right? And I'm going to show you this. Compile, run, and we got 12, right? And that's exactly because we just passed here. Because the local here has the same name with this. If this was like, I don't know, AA, because this is not the same as A, right? And I had A here, then it would be 50 plus 10, because this is a totally different, or maybe I name it C or B. So this is B, and here I just return A plus 10, but there's not a local A here in this function, right? And just remember that there's always a camera in every function for the locals, right? So when I say A plus 10, I just mean this global here. So I would get 60 now if I do this. Yeah, and I hope you really understand why this is happening, and it's just simply because locals come before globals. I hope you understood a bit of about this. I don't think there's much else to say. Just have to work with a bit with the program a bit, and you will actually get the practical view of the thing. Okay, thanks.